Hey, everybody. Welcome back to Learning Well podcast. I am here with my lovely co host, Annie, and we are going to share the second half. We ran out of time for the first half, but we are going to share the second half of our new curriculum picks for the new homeschool year. And today we're going to be talking about what we're using for history, science, and then just kind of those miscellaneous things that don't really fall under a proper category or just things that we weren't sure where to place. So,
Mhm.
good morning, Annie.
Good morning. How are you doing?
I'm doing good. I am excited to talk curriculum. I feel like,
Yay.
um, sorry, you guys, we've already kind of been talking about curriculum before we hit record, but there's always like
Yeah.
so much to hash over and, you know, um, discuss on like what we're using with our kids. And so,
Yeah.
um, it's a fun topic. We'll have to, if you guys are watching this on YouTube, you'll have to comment and let us know if you're using anything that we're using, and let us know also what you're using as well, or if there's anything new that you're excited about. Drop that in the comments on our YouTube channel.
Mhm.
And before we get started, we have a couple of things to share. Since we're talking about curriculum today, I have to mention the Learning Well Planner. It contains dozens and dozens of planning pages designed so that you can create the very best planner for yourself and for organizing your days instead of trying to kind of mold and conform to somebody else's planner layout.
Mhm.
Some of my favorite pages of this planner are the monthly overview pages where you can kind of plan out your month and kind of set your goals for the month and have those in your planner and just kind of keep referring back to those throughout the month. And then also the 2-page weekly spreads. It's just a really nice spread to be able to see your whole week. I usually sit down and plan out a couple weeks at a time so I can like plot all of those days out and then just work through the plan, which is really, really nice. And then the other one too is the course of study page. And I have one of those for each of my kids, and it tells what they're using for each subject. So I can kind of refer back to that if we're doing semester classes that aren't going through the whole year. And especially for this time of year when we're planning our curriculum, I use that thing a ton so that I can make sure that we've got all of our bases covered with all the different subjects. So, um, if you are in need of a just simple organizer, definitely check out the Learning Well Planner as you're planning your new homeschool year. You can head over to learningwellcommunity.com and find all of the information there. This episode is sponsored by CTC Math. In a world where education is key, finding the right math program for your kids is crucial. Sometimes math can be a pain point, but it doesn't have to be. So that's where CTC Math steps in. This just isn't just another math program. It is a comprehensive math curriculum covering everything from all the grades, K through 12. So what sets them apart is the video tutorials. They're not just educational, they're also engaging, breaking down complex topics into bite-sized, understandable pieces. It's like having a math expert in your home, available anytime. And it's not about memorizing facts, it's about truly understanding math concepts. The kind of understanding that sticks with your kids, not just until the next test, but for life. Plus, the flexibility is unbeatable. Whether you're homeschooling or supplementing after school learning, CTC Math fits into your schedule, not the other way around. So, why not take the leap? Visit ctcmath.com today and start your free trial. Discover how a comprehensive curriculum can change your child's perspective on math. It's time to give them the tools they need to succeed. That's ctcmath.com. Alrighty, so let's get started with history. So if you didn't listen to part one, you can definitely listen to part one after this. They don't have to be necessarily listened to in order.
Mhm.
Um, we're going to start with history. And maybe real quick, I'll just say that I am teaching an 11th grader and a 6th grader this year. Um, only 2 kids this year, and
Mhm.
that's going to be interesting, but also fun. It's just my girls left. My boys have graduated.
Aw.
And Annie, share what grades you're teaching again, just in case somebody's tuning in to this episode and didn't listen to the last one.
Okay. Yep. I am teaching seventh, fifth, and third this year. So entering into those middle
Middle
school.
school. Yep.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Super fun.
Yeah.
Okay, so do you want to start with sharing what you're using for your kids for history and if you're doing it all
Sure.
together or if some of your kids are doing their own?
Yep. We have always done history all together and we'll still continue that until it just doesn't work anymore, probably. But we have been on a homeschool in the woods kick. If you've listened to any of these podcasts, I feel like I'm always talking about them, but we have been on a kick with them for the last several years. And so we are going to just continue to move forward in that. But so we're doing we're just moving through history chronologically and we are getting ready to do New World Explorers. So I'm excited about it. I was actually thinking about skipping this one only because I want to say it was 2 or 3 years ago we studied explorers pretty in depth. And so I thought, I don't know, my kids are probably going to be bored to like touch on this again, even though I think it would be helpful to see like in time how this fits into the timeline of history. Um, but this is what I love about Homeschool in the Woods has the coolest like projects and
Mm.
it's just so fun. They have so many fun hands-on things that is just our family's total vibe. So, as I was looking through it, they do they have a whole section on pirates, which we have never really spent any time on. They really go into depth with like mapping and we kind of touched on that, but my kids were all quite a bit younger. And so I just feel like with the ages that they're at right now, we're going to touch on it again and maybe just spend less time on the actual like profiles of all of the explorers, because that's really what we
Oh.
talked a lot about last time. Um, and so, yeah, we're going to move through this one as well because I couldn't pass it up. The whole pirate section just captured
Mm-hmm.
me. I'm like, okay. And then plus, I don't know, but Lydia Rosado, I don't know if that's how you say her last name, but she's at Happily Ever Caffeinated on Instagram and she's written for us before. I don't know, did you see this was, I think last year, but maybe even the year before when she was doing those maps with her kids?
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
asked her, I was like, will you please save this to a highlight? Because I know in a couple of years, like this is going to be something that I want to do with my kids. So I think we will incorporate that really cool project as well. So anyway, I'm excited for it. I think it's going to be fun.
So is this something that's going to spread throughout the whole year, or are you starting with this and then moving into like early American or
I don't totally know. I think I've said
okay.
before, we usually don't do history and science at the same time. And so I'll pick either the beginning or the end of the school year to do one or the other. Um, I can't decide. We're going to start with it. We usually are able to get through, one chunk of history before the holidays, but this might take longer. So I don't know. I'll just kind of play it by ear. Um, and if we have time to go into another one, we might. But I also, for the first time, have like a couple of science things that I want to do this year. So,
Okay.
which we'll get into. So I don't know. I don't want to like overload anybody, but we actually last year did more science than we've ever done. And everybody just really enjoyed how last year kind of played out. And so, um, yeah, I'm not really sure. I'm going to start with this. If we have time to do another one, we will, but if not, we'll just hold off on it until next year. So we'll see.
Okay. I love their studies too. We've used them for years. In fact, I was thinking that I think I used them all the way through eighth or ninth grade.
Okay.
And then I would just add in like extra reading and stuff for those older ones or whatever, but we love their stuff.
Hmm.
So we're actually using them this year too.
Okay.
So we are in the Middle Ages. We do chronological history too. Typically what my rotation is, it's not always perfect, but it usually what we do is like ancients and then Middle Ages and then early American history and then modern American history. So that's kind of my rotation to get through like two times from first to eighth grade.
Hmm.
And so that's kind of the goal. And then in high school, I kind of want them to do like a year of ancients a year of American, a year of middle, which would include like the Renaissance, the Reformation, and then
Mhm.
also a year of like constitutional history. So they, understand like, or government,
Mhm.
both
Mhm.
and so that's kind of what I do in high school. And so this year we are doing the Middle Ages. And so for my high schooler, she's going to be using Compass Classroom. They have a great history series. I think the guy that writes his name is Dave Raymond, but do not
Okay.
quote me on that. I think it's something Raymond, but I'm not 100% on that. But last year, my two high schoolers that I had, they did antiquity with
Mhm.
Compass Classroom, and it was excellent. So it's kind of a lecture. You log in, and it's like a lecture, and then you're kind of creating a portfolio along with each lecture. They have like a portfolio assignment that they're supposed to do.
Mhm.
There's a few pretty massive writing projects throughout the year, and it's just a really good course. And so Sophia, my 11th grader, is going to be doing the next one in that series called Christendom, and it just looks really, really good. It's very
Okay.
rich. I mean, like I want to sit and just watch it with them.
Mhm.
And then what I do like doing, even though my high schoolers use different curriculum than my elementary kids, I still like them studying the same thing
Mhm.
because it's just like a great way to kind of keep that kind of family fabric pretty strong. Like everybody's studying the same thing, so
Yeah.
everybody can talk about similar things around the dinner table, even though we're not necessarily, sitting beside each other doing every single lesson together. But
Mhm.
like Vera will be able to listen in on these Christendom lectures, and she'll probably pick up, just like last year, she was going through uh, ancient Rome and Greece while the big kids were watching, the antiquity um, lectures. So anyway, Sophia's going to be watching those lectures from Compass Classroom. Highly recommend those. And then Vera is going to be working through. Uh, I'm hoping to do two uh, studies through Homeschool in the Woods. So if you're new to Homeschool in the Woods, or if you've never heard of these, they're like a downloadable, really huge unit study. I mean,
Mhm.
everything that you could ever want in a unit study is included. Movie suggestions, book suggestions. It's all laid out for you plan wise. They're usually like 25 lessons, but you can split those into two. So it could be actually 50 lessons. There's hands-on projects, there's recipes, there's writing projects that they do. There's a huge timeline, a huge lap book. I mean, it's a huge study.
Mhm. Yeah.
And so my hope is that we can do one of the Middle Ages one in the first semester, and then the Renaissance and the Reformation in the second semester. Um,
Mhm.
that's what we're hoping for. Um, but I'm really excited. I just
Yeah.
downloaded, we have not done the Middle Ages one. We did do the Renaissance and Reformation one. So, and that one I loved. So I'm really excited to go through that one again with her.
Mhm.
But I downloaded the Middle Ages one yesterday, and I was looking through it, and oh, there's just so much fun stuff in there.
Yeah.
So
We did that one a couple years ago and yeah, loved
the
it.
Middle
In
Ages.
fact, yes, I think
Yeah.
the Middle Ages is the first one that we did.
Okay.
Um, I think. And uh yeah, because I don't think well, I had heard about them, but I didn't look into them for their ancient stuff, although it looks like they have a great ancient curriculum as well.
They
So
do. We've done Greece
maybe
and Rome, I think.
maybe we did do those actually. I think we did. We did.
Okay.
We used Greece and Rome.
Okay.
Yeah.
And also, if you guys kind of want to see what those look like, I know I have reviews on my blog, and then I
Mhm.
also have several videos from years ago. We did a colonial study um, when we went through our cycle, 4 years
Mhm.
ago or whatever. Oh,
Mhm.
it's probably more than that now. But anyway, you can kind of see how that works. And I will too kind of combine Beautiful Feet books with the Homeschool in the Woods, and kind of use their book suggestions and kind of read
Mhm.
those alongside the study, which is always kind of nice.
Mm.
So anyway, that's we can leave that in the show notes, and so you guys can see
Yeah.
those um, reviews.
Nice.
So okay, How about science? What are you guys using for science?
Okay, we have been using for the last few years, again, we've been using Apologia's zoology
Mm-hmm.
series that they have, and we have one more to do. We have the flying creatures of the fifth day. Um,
Okay.
with these, this is why I say I'm not exactly sure what we'll have time for, because I know a lot of people look at this series in particular, or maybe any of Apologia's, and feel like overwhelmed at all of the things that you can do with it, or that like the curriculum that's put out with it. But we literally just use the book as like a read aloud. So
Yeah. Yep.
we don't do any of the projects. I rarely pull out any of the experiments unless it looks like really fun. Um, and we don't do any of the notebooking. I know they have like a junior notebooking situation, which it all is great. Like, I mean, they put it out really well. It's really well done. Um, we just don't have time for it. And
Yeah.
so my kids have done really well to just, I feel like um the writing is really good in these.
Mm-hmm.
They're not, it looks like a textbook, but it's not really textbooky when you read it aloud. I feel like they do a really good job with it. And we have just really enjoyed. So we'll kind of work through a lesson, and a few days a week, we'll work through this lesson reading it aloud. And then typically whatever we read aloud that day, we go to YouTube and then we look at like different videos of whatever that creature was or whatever, which just is cool to see them like in action.
That's a good
So,
idea.
and that's it. That's what we've done. So it's not overly difficult, or even all that time consuming. I mean, it can be done if it's hard to fit in, you can read over the lunch hour or whatever. Um, so that's why I feel like, yeah, if we get through all of this and we're working through it pretty easily, we might add in another history study in the winter. I don't know, because I actually have two that I really would like to do with Apologia. So that one, and then the other one is the Young Explorers version of the Human Anatomy and Physiology. That one looks really good too, and it's the
Oh,
younger version.
that's Apologia too. Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Yep. Um,
Yeah.
But again, with that one, we did a unit not that long ago, probably 3 years ago, on human anatomy. Not that I think my kids could probably like relearn a lot of it. Maybe my oldest would probably remember quite a bit of it, but we
Right.
could go back through and do the whole thing again. And I might just in that one kind of pick through chapters, because I just feel like we've done a lot of studying on that. But there are certain things that we skipped because of the ages of my kids. Like we probably skipped some of like reproduction because they were all really little, and we hadn't
Yeah.
quite had those conversations yet. I know that we skipped a lot of like the genetic code type stuff
Yeah.
because
Just more complex.
it's just more complex. And
Hmm.
so I was thinking we might pull that book out once we finish Flying Creatures, if there's time, and kind of work through some of the stuff that we missed or skipped last time. If not, then we'll start there next year. But that's kind of my loose plan
So
anyways.
how would you do that? Because maybe you should explain how you do history and science. Because if you do history for the first part of the year and
Hmm.
science for the second part of the year, I mean, will you just simply get through the flying creatures curriculum just because you read it and you don't like
Yeah.
take a lot of time on the projects?
Yeah. So I typically do half the year we do history and half the year we do science. Like we never really like do them at the same time because they've always been, for us, we do them as a family, and they just always seem to take more time. And we are pretty like staunch about being done, around lunchtime and not prolonging school past that. And it's always worked for us. I mean, we have more time to devote to each subject then. So that's what we've always done. Although I will say this is why I'm kind of like a little bit up in the air and just kind of going to see how this year goes. Last year we finished out the year. So in January we started um I think we did both history and science at the same time. And I think it's because I think I was able to do that because the science is just to read aloud. We're really not doing anything else with it. And for my kids, that seemed to work. I just haven't felt like a huge um, push to, you know, do all the experiments. Now, if they wanted to do one, I'm happy to bring stuff out. And we have done that before. They rarely work because
Mhm.
I'm just science illiterate, I guess. I don't know. The experiments are not my forte. But yeah, we just don't do all of the extras that are even in the book. I mean, there's a lot of great suggestions, and I know people have used it that way and have loved it. We probably would too if we spent more time on it, but we've just used it as a read aloud. It creates a ton of questions. We watch all kinds of really cool videos about the animals. Last year, we even just kind of on a whim, I thought, let's like pull in some dissecting. And so I ordered I ordered a shark and a frog and a starfish off of Home Science Tools.
Mhm.
And we dissected those because we learned about all of them in our reading through Apologia. And we just kind of went on it on our own. We had another family join us, and it was fun. Like, but we just kind of pulled that in as like kind of a last minute, hey, let's do this alongside with it, you know? So, um, yeah, didn't really follow anything, but it worked out well and we have the time. So I don't
That's
know.
fun.
I'm probably much more loose in that area than a lot of a lot of people are, but um I find that's how my kids like to learn about science. They're not interested in doing, at least right now. I know that like as you get into the upper sciences, you know, there needs to be more like lab stuff and things like that. But for right now,
Right.
this is good. And
Mhm.
we also do No Sweat Nature Studies. We've been part of that
Sure.
membership almost since the beginning of homeschooling. And a lot of times we'll pull in, she has such a huge video library of lessons that she's done.
Mhm.
So if you haven't looked at that, that's a membership. And Cindy does 2 live lessons a month with the kids, and they're all about nature things, animals and plants and all kinds of things. And they're great. And she does like a notebooking um, activity, I guess, with them with each live lesson. But so sometimes last year we were not good about hopping into the live ones. It just did not seem to
Yeah.
work with our schedule. But what I was saying is she has a huge video library. And when you're part of her membership, you have access to all of them. So what we did is whatever animal we were studying or whatever kind of, thing we were studying with Apologia, I would just look it up and see if there was a lesson to go with that. And there almost always was. She has so much stuff on there. And so we would pull that lesson in maybe on like a Friday or something. We would do that. And
Yeah.
so
That's
we'll
fun.
use, yeah,
That's
we'll use it
exactly
that
how we
way.
use No Sweat Nature Study too. We never can like make it live,
Hmm.
but the video library is huge. And so you can just go on there and search. It's categorized. So you can search, reptiles or I
Hmm.
don't know. There's holiday ones on there, whatever. We've done the exact same thing.
Hmm.
Or just seasonal ones like, oh, what's a good one for fall?
Hmm.
So,
Well, I was even thinking, I'm pretty sure she did a lesson on genetic
oh, she
code.
probably
Like it,
did. Yeah.
yeah, with the guy who did the peas. What was his name? Mendel.
Hmm.
Yeah, I think she did a whole lesson on that. So it's like I feel like anything you're studying in science, you'll probably be able to find Cindy teaching on it, and she does such a good job. The kids
Hmm.
love her, and it's a great way to like pull in, even with those that are like more reluctant to art. It's art because you're notebooking, so there's a bit of
Right. It's kind
drawing
of
involved.
it's kind of like a nature journal entry, which I love because
Mhm.
then your kids can like kind of create this great portfolio of
Mhm.
it's a lot of science too. It's not
Yeah.
just, this gentle nature walk where you're like looking at the sky. It's like, no, you're actually really she's teaching you how to actually, study nature, like pay
Mhm.
attention to the details and here, sketch out this starfish or whatever and let's label the parts, that kind of thing.
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
that's been really, really cool.
Yeah. And while we're talking about hers, she has a ton of stuff. When you're part of the membership, she has like just a ton of supplemental stuff. For every lesson, I think she gives ideas on experiments and object lessons. Like she'll give one that you can do at home. She has, I think, a podcast episode that goes with each
Mhm.
lesson now. She has a bunch of, like, she even suggests and gives ideas on different, like, research topics. So if you have an older student, you can kind of push them in that direction. So I feel like it's well worth. That's been one of the memberships we just have never cut and probably never will because
Mhm. It's a
pretty
good one.
cool. Yeah. So that's what we're doing.
It's a good
How
one.
about you?
Well, this year for science, we are again, apologia all the way. We're doing chemistry. And again, I'm repeating kind of the same idea with history. Both of my girls are going to be studying the same thing, but just at their own levels. So they're going to both use apologia and they're going to both study chemistry. And so, Sophia, my older daughter, she's going to be doing apologia's self-paced chemistry for high school, and it's a lab. And so I have not actually looked into this in depth. Last year she did biology, which was like I mostly just gathered things from here and there, very easy to find stuff,
Mhm.
um, for her to be able to do the labs for biology. And then again from a homeschool science tools, I believe it was, or maybe it was, yeah, I think that was it. Um, I ordered a box of all of the creatures she had to dissect. So that was fun. It was just weird because like I would be sitting here podcasting and I would know like there's a drawer right underneath of me on this in this table with a fish in it. So I don't know. It was weird, but we probably won't do any of those types of labs this year. But so the chemistry, there's a lot to it, but the self-paced course makes it super easy to stay on task and
Mhm.
to get all of your modules finished, and so that your high schooler can get that credit, that lab credit for science. And I find it to be just so much more enjoyable than a co-op. I know
Mhm.
people like don't agree with me on that, but so many times, because so many times parents are like, oh, well, we do a co-op because we don't want to, um, science or math, we don't want to do at home, which I get it, but it's like so much running around. It's such a
Mhm.
expensive thing.
Yeah.
And I like, I don't know, I like as much as we can do at home, I want to do at home.
Mhm.
So anyway, she's doing that at home, and I will be having. I'm working on it right now. I'm gonna have a review of it coming out soon. So I will have all the details on that. And then the other one for Vera, for my sixth grader, she's gonna be doing Apologia Chemistry and Physics,
Mm.
and it's kind of the um, what is it called? The not
Is
Junior
it
Explorers,
the Young Explorers, I
Young
think,
Explorers
edition? Mhm.
edition. Yeah. So it's for it's Apologia has their high school level courses, but then they also have, I would say, their second through eighth
Mhm.
um courses. So the Young Explorer one. So they have on their website, they kind of have a suggestion for how what order to do them in. And the chemistry and physics is for more of an upper grade. So like
Okay.
sixth, seventh, eighth, in that range. And so I chose it because Sophie was doing chemistry and I thought that, it would be cool if they were studying the same thing.
Mhm.
So again, there's a lot of labs that go with this curriculum, and we probably won't do them all either. With Sophie, she will do 90% of those labs just because
Mhm.
then she can count it as a lab science. But
Mhm.
with Vera, we're a little bit more lax on the labs too, or the experiments. And so I'll probably just go through month by month and kind of like plan out, a couple of experiments per month or something like that, or maybe just one.
Mhm.
And otherwise, we'll be doing the reading. And then I do have these courses come with, or you can purchase a journal, like a notebook that goes with them. And there's like just the regular elementary version. And then there's also the junior version. And those
Mhm.
are for, I don't know, I would say like third and under. So Vera has the notebook for the older kids, and I will probably have her work on some of that too, to go with the lessons. So we probably
Mhm.
won't finish it cover to cover, but we will work on it here and there. There's lap booking
Mhm.
things, there's copy work in there. Um, so yeah, and my goal is to do science for 2 days, maybe Monday, Wednesday, and then Thursday, Friday do uh, history. So
Mhm.
I'm going to try to plan it out that way. Last year, I
Nice.
tried to do your approach with history in the fall semester and then science in the winter semester. And I totally forgot about science. We just kept going with the history. And it was like April. And I was looking in the school cabinet and I was like, oh my gosh, there's Vera's science curriculum. We didn't do it.
Oops.
So oopsie. But it's okay. I'm not a
Yeah.
science stickler. I do find like science is one of the easier subjects, especially in elementary, to kind of just learn through a lot of reading and
Mhm.
also the nature classes as well. So anyway, I'm not
Yeah.
too worked up about it, but
No,
that's going to be my
that's
approach
fine.
this year is to do like 2 and 2 days a week. So we'll see if we can actually accomplish history and
You can
science
do
this
it.
year.
You can do it. I believe in you.
So anyway, that's what we're doing for science. And our next category that we're going to talk about is just kind of a miscellaneous, just kind of anything that didn't fit under those categories that we definitely wanted to share about and cover with our kids this year. So what do you have?
Yep.
What randoms do you have?
So my random is it's our Konos curriculum that we've used since the beginning. And I wouldn't say I would have always put it in a random category. It used to be like our main curriculum. And I do think like it's beefy enough that it can be your main curriculum with,
Mhm.
supplementing math and probably depending on what unit you're in, maybe another subject. But um, I love it. We've used it forever. It's a unit study approach, and they take godly character qualities, and then they wrap everything around that. So every subject gets wrapped around whatever character quality, which is why some might be more science heavy, some might be more history heavy. They're all just kind of different, but I don't know what to tell anybody that wants to like check into Konos because it's very old. It was like one of the first homeschooling curriculums out there. Um, it's fully worth it if you can find it used, but I don't even think that you can actually buy it off their site at this point anymore. I had a friend that tried um, like a month or so ago, and it was kind of a big failure. So, but I
Oh,
see it used all over the place. It's really worth it if you can get your hands on it. But um, this year, I think we're going to do the character quality of creativity and excellence.
oh, cool.
So it's super art heavy and music, and which I'm kind of excited about. It's a big one. Some of them are smaller than others, but this one's kind of a big one, and it just is like the whole point is to appreciate the importance of creativity and to recognize excellence in things like art and music and literature. And so there's a lot of yeah, a lot of art, artist study and composer study, it looks like. And so that that's why I call it extra this year, because it's just like
Hmm.
there's very little science, if any, involved in there, and maybe some history, but mostly it's just creativity. And so
That's cool.
it's going to be an extra for us, and we'll kind of just move along with it throughout probably the whole year.
Hmm.
So, yeah.
Very cool.
Yeah, and I think that will take up all of our time, all of those things.
Hmm.
I'm not going to add anything else in at this point.
Yeah, I know. I mean, start simple, and then if you want to add stuff later, then you can, but
Hmm.
why overwhelm yourself from the get-go?
Yeah.
Um,
But you.
well, I have a couple. So one that I'm really excited to start using this year is Beautiful Feet Books has a brand new curriculum on composers and really just
Oh.
music. And so it's it kind of goes through the timeline of music starting I don't know where it actually starts, maybe ancient times. And it works all the way through like current day, like musicals and that kind of thing.
Mm,
Um, and so there's a really beautiful like spine book that talks about tons and tons of composers, but then it also comes with a downloadable teacher resource and then also kind of just extra pages. So there's copy work in there, and you can print out like pictures
mhm,
of the composers if you wanted to make a timeline or something like that. So that's pretty cool, and it's brand new. It just is coming out, and it's also kind of unique to Beautiful Feet Books in the way that a lot of their curriculum is for third through sixth or middle school or high school. This one actually is designed to teach all your kids. So I'm really
mm,
excited about that. I'm thinking that we'll do that in the morning and just read a little bit each day. And then I will probably combine that with Squilt. Squilt Live has wonderful listening calendars. And so
mhm,
you can kind of access the library in that program as well. And
mm,
so I will try to kind of match up the listening calendars with the period of music that we're listening or that we're talking about. And so I'm excited to use that. And then also my 11th grader, she'll be doing at least one more college course, but we're deciding between college writing and research and then intro to business. I don't want to overload the college classes, so I'm
mhm.
just kind of waiting on her more or less to decide which one she feels like she wants to do and
Okay.
get credit for. And then one more that I think that I will do, but it kind of depends on which choice she decides for her college course, is movies as literature. This is like a high school course that I did with my oldest when he was probably like a junior,
Mhm.
sophomore or junior. And it is such a fun class. When I was planning, I was thinking about like, oh, how Sophia doesn't have a literature course. And I usually like them to do a literature course, but the last couple of years she's done some pretty heavy ones, British literature, American literature. So I thought this could be a fun alternative. And so there's kind of a method to it. You kind of talk about the movie, you watch the movie, and then they have tons of like vocabulary words and just discussion questions, and then
Mhm.
kind of an essay assignment to go with each movie. And I think there's like 17 or 18 movies in all. And some of
Who's this
them,
through?
who is it through?
Yeah, like,
I can look it up quick. I don't know. I don't know who publishes it, but it's a high school course, and
huh.
I don't know. I just was like, this is so fun. I remember with Noah, we watched like Alfred Hitchcock movies and some Audrey Hepburn movies, I think,
Huh.
and I don't know. It was just fun. Some
That's fun.
westerns. And oh, there's actually a student workbook. Maybe I'll have to grab that. I didn't know that. I just grabbed the book off the shelf that we had. So it's movies as literature. It was published in 2002. Love me some vintage 2000 stuff. And it's by Catherine and Richard Stout. And so I don't think
Huh.
it's like really published through, I think it's kind of maybe a one-off, like
Okay.
and so some of the movies, because I know people will want to know, Shane, which is an old Western. I remember watching that one with Noah. The Music Man, E.T., Rear Window, which that one, I think that's the Stephen, or not Stephen King. Oh my gosh, no. The Alfred Hitchcock movie.
Mhm.
I'm pretty sure it is. Don't quote me on that, but it stars Jimmy Stewart from It's a Wonderful Life, and
Mm.
he's like this man is like stuck in his apartment because I don't know, he broke both of his legs or something crazy, and so he's just kind of stuck there. So he just
Mhm.
sits there and looks out his window all day, and like he thinks his neighbor murdered somebody. It starts a whole deal.
Mhm.
Um, and then To Kill a Mockingbird, Emma, um, Chariots of Fire. So anyway, it's just a
So
fun
they don't
course.
necessarily have to be books that were turned into movies.
No,
They're saying, okay. movies as literature.
It's literally literature or movies as literature. So it's the same way you would study literature, pulling out like who are the main characters, the
Yeah.
setting, the scenes, the plot, the climax, like all of those things that you would study in a book.
Mm-hmm.
But it's movies. So it's
Oh,
kind of
you
the
should
same
totally
idea.
do that. That's fun.
So
I like that.
anyway, now I'm looking and I see that they have a workbook, which would be really nice because I find myself like copying a lot of stuff or having to kind of make my own
Mm-hmm.
worksheets or whatever, but this has all of the discussion questions and the vocab and all of that in here. So that would be nice.
Yeah,
I might have to
that's
grab
cool.
that too.
Mm-hmm.
So anyway,
Very fun.
that's my list. I think that's
Very,
everything off my list.
yeah.
So it'll be a fun year. I'm
Mm-hmm.
excited. I don't know. There's a few things for sure I'm excited about history, and I think science will be really fun too. I've never been a big chemistry person, but I was like, you know what? Apologia does such a great job at like breaking
Yeah.
things down into understandable little bite-sized pieces that maybe it'll actually stick this time. I haven't done any chemistry since high school, so my boys did not do chemistry in their high school years. So
Yeah.
here we
I was a
go.
pretty good student in high school, and like I was an AB student and I got a C in chemistry.
Yeah.
My sister, however, was a chemical engineer major, so we're very different.
Okay. So call her if we're
So
struggling.
call her. That's right.
Okay.
Oh my
Okay.
goodness. Fun.
So, okay. Well, awesome. Well, leave us a comment if you're watching this on YouTube again and tell us what you're excited for using this year. Any questions that you have, hopefully we can answer them.
Hmm.
And we love interacting with you guys in the comments over on YouTube. It's so fun. And if you're listening, I always forget to say this, but if you're listening on Apple, what is it called? Apple
Yeah.
iTunes? Apple Podcasts, whatever it
Apple
is.
Podcasts, I
Apple
think. I don't
Podcasts
know.
or wherever you're listening, leave us a review and let us know what you think of the podcast.
Yep.
And we will see you next week, actually.
Hmm.
We usually podcast every other, but since we had so much to talk about with our curriculum, we broke this up into two, but we will actually see you next week as we introduce a brand new issue of Learning Well Journal, our quarterly print magazine. Our fall issue is coming out next week, and we are excited to introduce that issue for you guys. So we will be back next week with that. And in the meantime, just remember, whatever is going on in your life, all you have to remember to do is the next right thing. So we will see you next week.
Bye-bye.